Hey there, it's another beautiful day. Let's watch some stuff.
This is the place where medieval nuns started meowing without any reason. In the 14th century, a French nun started meowing out of nowhere. And soon more and more nuns started meowing with her until the whole monastery was meowing. The nuns will meow for several hours every day, and this went on for weeks. Until the people living around the monastery got annoyed and called in the soldier, who beat the nuns until they stopped meowing. Nobody is sure why this happened. While some say it was mass hysteria, others claim they were just bored.
Now, I've heard some interesting stories of people just starting to do something randomly and then lots of people just join in, like dancing and stuff. But a convent of nuns meowing just constantly for weeks on end, they must have been bored. Or maybe it was meow hysteria. I know, that was lame. I'm sorry. Meow.
The ortolan bunting is a small, delicate songbird that has been considered a French delicacy for centuries. But this tiny bird is also notorious for its controversial preparation. The traditional way to eat ortolan is both bizarre and shocking to many. The bird is caught, fattened up, then drowned in armagnac before being slowly roasted whole. The entire bird, bones and all, is eaten in one bite, head, beak and everything. In the past, ortolans were typically consumed in secrecy, as hunting them has been illegal in many countries due to conservation concerns. Diners traditionally cover their heads with a napkin while eating, a practice thought to preserve the aroma of the bird and to hide the act of indulgence, almost as if the eater is ashamed of the extravagant dish. The taste? It's described as rich and intensely flavorful, with a texture that's said to be tender and succulent unlike anything else.
I just heard about this last night and it absolutely blew my mind. Apparently when they catch this bird, they keep it in the dark and fatten it up on bread and milk. And then when they put it in the jar of liquor, they put the cap on it to let it drown in the jar. And then they cook it and people put the napkins over their heads. It's pretty interesting.
2024 election fried our brains. The Democrats couldn't hold a primary because they were too busy holding a body upright. Are we still rolling? Am I off?
Go for it.
It was amazing that the pro-choice party didn't give their voters one when it came to the presidential candidate. Kamala was forced on us so hard you'd think she was patented by Pfizer or Moderna, whichever one's, oh God. Andy just gave me a very scary look.
No!
Let me be clear though, 2024 was not only negative. The media wants us to believe this country is so divided, but we actually came together a lot this year. Like as a nation, we unanimously agreed that we would rather see J-Lo in a toxic relationship than in concert. We all agreed the government totally knows what drones are and are telling us. The drones are still up there and we have no idea what's behind them. No idea. I mean, they're still up in the sky, so I guess we can rule out that they were made by Boeing. The point is, I think we all agree on a lot of things. And since I only have a minute left live on Establishment Media, why don't we just say a bunch of things that we know that they'll never cover? Okay, ready, go. Trump Jr. didn't have any silverware in his house. No one thought that was weird? Are we still rolling?
I'm sure we've all already seen that a whole bunch of times, but I thought it deserved just a little more airtime.
The Tesla Cybertruck exploded and burst into flames this morning just outside the doors of the Trump International Hotel.
It still looks like mortars from like a firework.
Elon Musk, the Tesla CEO who will be leading a Trump administration advisory commission, says he has the whole Tesla team investigating the explosion and posted, "We've never seen anything like this."
There is very clearly a message trying to be conveyed here because it was Musk's Cybertruck in front of Trump's hotel in Las Vegas. And sadly, this guy, he was a highly decorated Green Beret. And what's killing me is that all of these people are talking about how wonderful the construction of this Cybertruck is, that it prevented more damage from happening. If that's not a disgusting advertisement, I don't know what is. If we see an uptick in Cybertrucks, I don't know what I'm going to do.
One of the employees during the Q&A section asked what Google had done well during the election, to which the CEO Sundar Pichai stated that it was the use of artificial intelligence to censor fake news. And I was saying to myself, since when have we had AI censoring fake news? Kind of goes against our ethos of organizing the world's information and making it universally accessible and useful if we are actually employing artificial intelligence to censor the news. So this sort of triggered off an internal investigation that I did within the company to figure out what exactly was going on. And what I discovered is that there was a fake news team. They were organizing in order to suppress what they deemed fake news. But the problem that I saw was that some of the stuff they were deeming as fake was actually real news.
Because it didn't fit the narrative that got their pockets lined with all that cashola.
So Google is really crooked. It's horrible when they had the word assassination up, because, you know, there was a big moment a few weeks ago where I got whacked. I got whacked. And whether it's me or anybody else, it was a terrible thing. Terrible thing. For our country, it was terrible for everything. And when you put up the name, the word assassination, it went to Lincoln, it went to many other people, many of whom I didn't even know there was an attempted assassination. The only one it didn't have was Trump. Think of it. And when you put up the word assassination, it also sent you to Kamala. And people were really angry at it. Look, something wrong with Google. I don't know if it's the people running it inside or the smaller people, so to speak, the people that are actually doing the nuts and bolts. I doubt it. It's got to come from the top. And it's so illegitimate, they have to do something about it. And, I mean, the market speaks. Everybody should maybe just go off Google, not use it. There are so many other things. Watch your show instead. But there are so many things.
Google is so super shady. They really are. And it's interesting the things that they will allow to go through YouTube, like transitioning children's stuff. That's okay, but I can't disagree with a marshmallow. Oh no, I'm the bad guy. Oh no, I'm not bitter about it. Not in the least bit. It's disturbing.
New York's latest skyscraper is turning heads, but not for the reason you'd expect. This is the jail scraper, and when completed, it'll rise higher than the Statue of Liberty and be the tallest correctional facility in the world. It's being built here, on the site of a notorious prison known anonymously as the Tombs. In a city full of controversial developments, this might just be public enemy number one.
Desperate calls from the community to stop construction of a brand new jail.
This is a real assault on our community.
A rally today in Chinatown to stop the construction of a jail there.
No more jail!
Building something like this comes at huge cost, and we're not talking about the $2 billion price tag. Local residents are worried that this massive jail will destroy the social and physical fabric of historic Chinatown, a neighborhood that they say is already hanging by a thread.
We will not be the sacrificial community for this experiment.
But the city insists this is a vital part of a radical plan to transform New York's brutal justice system.
These jails should have been closed years ago. We are doing it today.
So there are a lot of events or even just things in movies that are decades old that are like coming to fruition. We're seeing them happen, or we're seeing these things that we're like, oh my gosh, that was in that really old movie. And people attribute it to Hollywood being like, I don't know, like they live forever, right? Or they're sold their soul to the devil or whatever it is. But have you seen Judge Dredd? Actually, it's not Judge Dredd. It's just called Dredd, the new one, where they have those tall cities. What is it, peach trees? Yeah, that kind of looks like that.
Just so everybody's clear this morning, shooting a CEO, terrorist attack. Driving your truck into a crowd of civilians, not a terrorist attack. Got it.
Are we all on the same page here with that fascinating classification?
So you're telling me that an abnormal fog pops up all over the United States and is being reported in Europe as well, with these particles that are flying around that are not snow or moisture, have a chemical smell, and are leaving a white residue in some areas. And some people who have been exposed to the fog are falling ill with the same illness of inflamed sinuses, can't sleep, loss of appetite, and people think this is just a normal cold and flu and has nothing to do with this abnormal fog? Okay.
So allegedly, the drones were also making people sick. And I guess it wasn't working well enough. They had to unleash this fog. I didn't get any fog.
Hi, who wants to look at some top secret documents which might explain this mysterious fog everywhere? Also, amazing response on the videos. 2,000 comments on the video from this morning. Crazy. Keep them coming. Lots of videos coming in too. This is happening everywhere. Allow me to introduce you to the Future Strategic Issues, Future Warfare Circa 2025 research produced by NASA at their Langley Research Center. These were some of the contributors. You got CIA and DARPA in there. Nice. Some sensor swarms, smart dust, under a cubic millimeter. Combined sensors, comms, and power supply, floats and air currents placed on everything. Identification and status info, co-opted insects. What the? Don't forget about micro dust weaponry, which is dust which is mechanically bores into lung tissue and executes various pathological missions. And don't forget about the explosive dust, which could be floating all around us right now.
We've talked about the smart dust before, how it's got like radio transmitters, and our military was dropping it on like enemy equipment or whatever and then tracking where it went. So is that what they're doing? They're trying to track us now because they got the money in the thing, right? At the damn bill. They got the money in the bill, and that's what they did. They put some more dust out. Oh my gosh, I had never heard of the ones that go inside you and like bore themselves into your lungs. That's terrifying. We're gonna have to look into that a little bit more. And it's been a minute since we've talked about DARPA too.
I think fossil fuels are better for the environment than people realize, because without them, we would have cut all the trees down by now. I think they also save the whales, because before we were using fossil fuels, we were using whale oil to make everything. And I think people who wanted to save the whales should be happy that we use fossil fuels.
Okay, interesting. So are you completely against like what they're supporting, or do you think it's just not like a realistic outcome?
Most of the climate change issue is about controlling our energy resources. Let's say they get off of fossil fuels and they put everybody on electricity, and we're all using electricity for everything. Well, all that has to be mined. Most of it's mined by slave labor in communist countries that are owned by dictators in very violent places. And I don't see why that's a better energy resource than fossil fuels. They make people money who take it out of the ground rather than being forced out of the ground. And there's a lot less exploitation involved in it, I think. The scientists who say climate change is real only get grant money if they say climate change is real. A lot of the scientists who disagree with climate change, all their budgets are taken away and they're blacklisted. There's a big movement to change our energy resources, like I said. And if you change our energy resources, you change who controls the power in the world.
And that there is the point, isn't it? Shifting the power. Who has the power? It's the damn World Economic Forum pushing this narrative of global warming and indoctrinating it into young people's minds that we're a problem. We're causing this problem. Yeah, we're adding to it, but in such a minuscule way that nothing that any of us can do will change it. But they want that power. So they are like, oh, we got to go to electric because it's going to make them more money. It's going to put them in power.
If you could pack all of human history into 1 year, we've only been farming and eating grain since about yesterday, which is when we became shorter and fatter. We only started consuming processed vegetable oils about 10 minutes ago, which is when heart disease became our #1 killer. So after examining all this human history, the experts came to the obvious conclusion. We need to eat a lot more of these. And so they convinced us that human health depends on foods we didn't eat for more than 99% of our entire existence. How did this happen?
I know I talk about this a lot, but it's one of my favorite topics. It's the corruption inside of our food. And it's ridiculous. It's lobbyists and bureaucrats and big pharma, and they're just getting at us and trying to steal everything that we have and change us into something else. I mean, over time, we're going to evolve into something else. I mean, look at us now. We're all fat because they told us to be. And it worked.
The reason these companies are shutting down their DEI initiatives is that, A, it's very costly. It doesn't produce a better product. And they're bypassing a lot of people who, based on merit, are more qualified to do things. And so if we want to become a country who's less racist, then let's be less racist. Let's get rid of the affirmative action out there and say, you know what? If you're the best person for that job, doing the best that you possibly can, then that's the person that should get the job. And that's where I think America has come to as a whole. Not everybody agrees with it, but I think in mass you see these big companies recognizing, and these universities too. Some of these universities, like the University of Virginia, which I love, it's a great school, but they spend millions of dollars on these initiatives that don't make the education better. I would argue that it actually makes it worse.
Yeah, I think those universities have a lot of looking inside and trying to figure out what their future holds. As we saw this past year, a lot of people, families at home thinking, I don't know if my kid needs to go get that higher education degree at that university with some of the stuff.
DEI aside, college is a scam these days. They start telling you when you're in elementary school, you need to start thinking about your future. You got to think about what college you want to go to. And then in high school, they push you to fill out applications and try to go to all these colleges because they get kickbacks from the colleges for sending your body there and giving them more money to teach you all of this BS. This freaking DEI crap absolutely blows my mind. It is racism. That's all it is. It's racism. We should have a meritocracy. People should receive jobs based on their ability to perform the damn job, not on their ability to add diversity to the company, because that's not the job. The job is doing the damn job, not being a certain color or a certain race or a certain sexual preference or a toaster or whatever. It's crap. It's a load of crap. And I'm glad to see a lot of companies pulling out of it. And I want to see a lot more colleges pull out of it too. I want the whole United States to just be like, flush the toilet on that bad boy. And it's happening.
Reports say that President Joe Biden regrets dropping out of the race as he believes he could have actually beaten Donald Trump for a second time. Now, according to the Washington Post, the outgoing president has also acknowledged in private that he screwed up the presidential debate against Trump in June. Biden was unable to answer basic questions and at many times struggled to even identify the names of those closest to him. Less than a month later, the Democratic Party urged the 82-year-old to step aside, making way for Vice President Kamala Harris to replace him. However, his belated decision to endorse Kamala Harris gave the vice president only 3 months to build a campaign against Donald Trump, resulting in the Republicans sweeping all swing states and winning the popular vote. Now, reports say President Biden has been careful not to blame his VP, but he believes the results would have been different if he'd stood his ground.
I really think it would have been a lot worse for Biden. I really do. I feel bad for the guy because it's very obvious that his brain is not where it should be, especially in a position of power. And why he's still in power is, well, I know why he's in power, because he's actually not. He's got all of his puppeteers doing their thing, making him be the front man. But still, it would have been so bad for him. So bad. Biden stepping back and allowing Kamala to do all the failing for him was probably the best thing that he could have done.
It is time for our generation-defining great works. How about stopping climate change before we destroy the planet and getting millions of people involved, manufacturing and installing solar panels? We get that our greatest challenges need global responses too. No country can fight climate change alone or prevent pandemics. Progress now requires coming together, not just as cities or nations, but also as a global community.
I don't understand how people like that have the absolute gall to come out and tell us what we need to do to save the environment when, hello, look what you're doing. You lead by example, not this listen to what I say, not what I do crap. On that note, I'm calling it for today. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. Please come on back in a couple of days. We're going to talk about aliens, and it's going to be fantastic. Until then, have a wonderful day. It's not only in the marshmallows, it's also in the food. It's because the money. It's always the money. And that's always what I'm blaming it on, right? Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. Please come on back in a couple of days. We're going to watch some different stuff. I'll say new things. We're going to talk about aliens because I'm tired of this crap. It's always the money, and that's always where I'm blaming it. the money, the power, all of that stuff. And if you haven't already, please hit that like button, consider subscribing. No,